Welcome to the Wonderful Seagulls podcast, where we explore the loud, clever, chaotic world of urban gulls. Before we dive into today's gull story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more urban wildlife, gull behavior, and neighborhood drama. Okay, so let's dive right into this. We all know the modern gull, right? They're those loud, kind of unapologetic birds just hanging out in parking lots, waiting for that exact, perfect split second to swoop down and, well, steal a French fry right out of your hand. Because of that, it's super easy to just dismiss them as, trash birds. But today, we're completely flipping the script. What if I told you there's a 93-million-year-old secret behind that chaotic energy? Seriously, I want you to totally reframe how you see this animal. Because that bird eyeballing your lunch, it's actually an absolute evolutionary marvel.
Now, what's genuinely wild here is the sheer chronological scale we're talking about with the Laridae family. That's the family that includes gulls, terns, and skimmers. If we look all the way back to the very beginning, their origins stretch back to the late Cretaceous period. We're talking roughly 93 million years ago when their common ancestor first showed up. And then, around 88.6 million years ago, the suborder Laridae branched off. So what does this actually mean? It means the great-great-great-great-grandparent of that parking lot bird was already charting its evolutionary course way before that infamous asteroid ever hit the Earth.
But, if you were to actually time travel back to the late Cretaceous, you probably wouldn't even recognize them. The earliest predecessors of our gulls didn't look anything like the highly aerial, soaring birds we know today. Instead, they were basically beachcombing shorebirds. When we look at paleontological records from places like Antarctica, they show that these basal Chardregiiforms, like this transitional stem group called the Gracularidae, actually looked a lot more like modern wading birds. Think of birds like thick-knees. They had longer legs and a body plan that was built for stalking around the shallows, not diving out of the sky.
All right, so this brings us to the ultimate test, right? The Cretaceous-Paleogene, or KPG, mass extinction event, 66 million years ago. Just imagine the scene for a second. An asteroid slams into the Earth. Global ecosystems totally collapse. Primary productivity just plummets. And those massive, highly specialized, dominant, non-avian dinosaurs? Completely wiped out. Gone. And yet somehow, the evidence suggests that at least 14 lineages of modern shorebirds actually made it through the apocalypse. So, how? How did these little beachcombing birds manage to survive when the absolute giants of the era perished?
Well, the answer to their survival is actually pretty simple. They were generalists. You see, when the world's primary food sources collapsed, having a highly specific diet or needing a very specific environment was literally a death sentence. But the ancestors of the gull, they were semi-aquatic. They hung out in these coastal edge habitats, and these dynamic, shifting zones where the land meets the sea ended up acting as a vital refuge. Since they could exploit both aquatic resources and terrestrial resources, they weren't totally dependent on any single failing ecosystem. They could basically just eat whatever was left over.
And honestly, this is a brilliant illustration of how different survival strategies play out. On one side, you've got the ancestors of the gull, relying on the super versatile, omnivorous, anti-extinction strategy. But on the other side, you have other seabird lineages that took what turned out to be a doomed path of extreme specialization. Take the wing-propelled diving auks, for example. Being that specialized made them incredible at one very specific task as long as the environment was stable, but it made them incredibly vulnerable when things suddenly turned upside down. The gull's absolute refusal to specialize, that was its greatest superpower.
Okay, let's fast forward a bit to see how this all builds into the bird we actually recognize today. We're jumping to the Miocene epoch, so roughly 23 to 5.3 million years ago. After millions of years of just navigating a constantly changing planet, this was the big transformative period where the true modern gull shape finally started to emerge and stabilize all over the globe. By this point, the lineage had survived the mass extinction, diverged from the ancestors of skuas and auks back in the Eocene, and was now basically perfecting its physical form. We can actually track this amazing transition right in the fossil record. During this era, we see species like Laricola over in France, which still had proportionally longer legs, kind of hinting that it still liked a more terrestrial, wading-based lifestyle. But then, we look at the St. Bathans fauna down in New Zealand, dating back 16 to 19 million years, and we see birds like Dinosaurs. Now, Dinosaurs had an upper bill that looks strikingly similar to our modern gulls. They were developing that incredibly versatile stout bill that they use to grab, tear, and swallow everything today.
And speaking of that bill, it actually comes with a truly incredible and honestly slightly terrifying physical adaptation. Modern gulls have what's formerly called a prophylactic unhinging jaw. I know, it sounds crazy, But through cranial kinesis, which is basically a system of really loose joints in their skull and lower jaw, gulls can massively expand their mouths, very much like a snake. They can essentially unhinge their jaws to swallow exceptionally large, high-energy prey whole. We are talking huge crabs and entire fish. Being able to maximize their caloric intake in a single gulp like that was a massive advantage for surviving periods of extreme scarcity.
But the adaptations definitely don't stop with the jaw. To really conquer harsh coastal environments, gulls evolved an internal biological desalination plant. Seriously, they have these specialized supraorbital salt glands located right above their eyes. And these glands allow them to filter and excrete excess salt directly out of their nostrils. Because of this little trick, gulls can literally drink pure seawater and be perfectly fine. They don't have to stay tethered to freshwater sources, which gives them this massive freedom to just roam the oceans and coastlines wherever they want. Then, of course, there's how they move around. Gulls developed palmate, or webbed, feet. Now sure, a lot of seabirds have webbed feet for diving or swimming, but usually that means trading off their mobility on land, right? They end up being super clumsy when they waddle ashore. Well, not the gull. This early adaptation allowed gulls to be highly efficient swimmers on the surface, while still maintaining the agility to walk and even sprint on dry land. It is perfectly designed to support their dual lifestyle of plucking fish from the water one minute and scavenging the beach the next.
And as if all of that wasn't enough, they also have a literal hidden superpower. Gulls possess the SWS1 opsin gene, which actually grants them true ultraviolet vision. So, when they look out at the world, they're seeing a glowing, vibrant landscape that is completely invisible to human eyes. This UV vision is absolutely crucial for finding food, because a lot of fish naturally reflect ultraviolet light, making them pop right out against the ocean surface. Plus, it plays a really big role in their complex social signaling and how they communicate with each other.
So when you take their incredible history and combine it with their biology, their ultimate anti-extinction toolkit really boils down to three main pillars of survival. Number one, dietary plasticity. Because they're the least specialized of all seabirds, they can just seamlessly switch between hunting marine prey, eating terrestrial insects, scavenging, or yes, stealing food from others. Number two, cognitive flexibility. They actually have relatively huge brains that make them great at novel problem solving. And number three, rapid speciation. They evolve and adapt at an absolutely blistering pace.
To put that rapid speciation into perspective for a second, just look at the genus Laris. This specific genus is an evolutionary marvel because it has produced 16 distinct species and 35 subspecies in less than 1 million years. For complex vertebrates, that is incredibly fast. And because they can easily hybridize and share genetic material across different populations, they're able to rapidly incorporate beneficial new traits. As they expand into new geographic regions, it's like they're practically swapping genetic survival tips to conquer the new territory.
And, as we all know, that territory now includes our cities. Recent research has shown this really clear direct correlation between a gull species' relative brain size and its ability to successfully colonize urban areas. Now, human cities are loud, they're chaotic, and they're entirely unnatural landscapes. But to the highly cognitively flexible gull, our buildings are just unconventional nesting sites, and our garbage cans are just brand new puzzle boxes. Their large brains give them the behavioral flexibility they need to essentially navigate and master the concrete jungle.
Which kind of brings us full circle, doesn't it? We jokingly call them trash birds, but honestly, are they actually the ultimate winners of the Anthropocene? From their late Cretaceous origins as beachcombing generalists, to surviving the exact asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, all the way to unhinging their jaws and seeing in ultraviolet today, the gull's entire legacy is built on a flat-out refusal to specialize. They are defined by this incredible, deep ecological grit. So that bird you see in the parking lot? It isn't just a pest. It is a 93-million-year-old evolutionary master, perfectly adapted to thrive in literally whatever world we create.
So next time a gull is eyeing your French fries in a parking lot, ask yourself, who is really adapting to whom? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video and subscribe for more gull stories, urban wildlife, and the ongoing adventures of gulls.